Okay folks, this is a tutorial for research through our library system on sussex.edu. So we're on the home page. You will go to student support. You will scroll down, click the library. Normally I would say use books if you'd like, but quite frankly, for our purposes, we want to stay as current as possible. You want to go through the articles section here. Okay, so you'll click on articles and journals, right? This is the database that I would normally advocate in non-pandemic times. Okay, and this is also the easiest way for you to stay as current as possible and stay safe and not find some wacky website that's not actually going to help you. All right, so for our purposes, I would either go to the New York Times or the Wallstreet Journal, both of which are great, or I think an easier one is probably Proquest, all databases. I'm sure that you've seen this before, either in high school or here for one of your other classes. You'll enter in your library barcode, okay? Okay, so we're in. Now, you want to do full text, okay, because this allows you to get either a link to the article or a PDF, and then you'll enter the search terms. So the one that I usually go with that's super easy to find is legalizing marijuana, right? Okay, so a couple of important things to notice here. Now, I am also using a touchscreen, so if you don't see the arrows, just follow along as best you can. I'll try to use the arrow or the pointer as much as I can. Source type. This is important. Okay, to make it easier on yourself. All right, you want to include newspapers, blogs, magazines, scholarly journals if you want. I typically, for our research paper, I wouldn't do this. Okay, you want to keep it as current as possible, and those people who are interpreting the data for you are professional writers. Okay, so you don't need scholars for this kind of thing. As you progress in your college career, you'll probably use this a lot more, especially if you go to a literature class, like your Comp 2 class. Your professor would ask you to use a scholarly journal, right? And you'd have to have at least 3 sources for your research paper. For us, newspapers, magazines, blogs, these are all fine, okay? You'll click apply, okay? And this whittles down the results a little bit more, but basically you're still at 9,693 results, okay? Because it's a magazine, you don't need peer reviewed, right? But you would click on one of these articles that you think would help you, let's say, prove that legalizing marijuana is a good idea, okay? Some of these are from websites that are totally great. Some are better than others. Huffington Post, mostly a liberal website, is, I think, great personally, but if you're somebody who's trying to disprove that marijuana legalization is a good idea, then you might want to go to a more conservative website for sure. So the article title, 3 states legalize marijuana for recreational or medical use. The victories in Michigan, Missouri, and Utah expand the significant gains in the movement to legalize marijuana. Okay, so this is an abstract, okay? You want to go to full text, right? Here's the URL. Let's open that up in a new tab. We'll click on that in a second, okay? But another important thing that you should keep in mind here, you see the related items. These items are other articles that are linked to the keyword searches that you've already entered in up top, right? More than that, this can help build up your works cited page, okay? So whenever you're looking for more items that are close to what you're researching, look to the right side and you'll see related items, and you should be able to click on these and be able to find what you're looking for. Now, another thing up top that's important here, you have a few important items, okay? You can cite this, okay? So for our purposes, we use MLA, all right? So you'd scroll down, okay? MLA 8, right? And then you would just simply copy and paste this and put it into a Word document. If I were you, I would open up a Word document and save your works cited page, and that way you can copy and paste it and put it to the end of your research paper after you're done using all this stuff, okay? But very simple, copy and paste. And then from there, you would essentially paste it onto your Word document and just select keep same text, right, on your Word document or whatever you're using. I always suggest Word. You can access Microsoft Word online for free because you are a student at the college, but that's one important tab up here on the right. Okay, done. Print. Theoretically, you could print this if you have a printer at home. What I like to do is print and change the printing to a PDF. That way I can kind of keep a digital record of everything. All right, so let's go to that article. Click the tab up here. Again, I'm using the touch screen, so that's why it is something that is, you won't always see my my arrow or my pointer. And then you can kind of scroll down and get the data that you need. So this is just one example of legalizing marijuana. Now, again, in a time of COVID-19, right, and for our research paper, all right, let's go to a basic search again. One thing that a lot of people are talking about, because many of citizens in the United States are losing their jobs or filing for unemployment. Congress has recently passed a bill that would essentially give anybody between a certain number $1,200, right, as a kind of stimulus check, right? But many people want to go further. That includes Andrew Yang, obviously Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren to a certain extent, right? So one of the example of this is, and we've talked about it in class a little bit, is universal basic income, okay? So one real benefit of this is if you do lose your job, you still have money coming in, right? And it could be something as simple as $1,000 a month. I think Bernie Sanders was advocating $2,000 a month for as long as the pandemic is going on, which could be a while. So you want to get full text. Again, for source type, I clicked on source type here. I'm using the touchscreen because it's a bit easier for me. You want to do newspapers and magazines. I don't think we need to go beyond that, okay? Hit apply. So take a little bit because my Wi-Fi is not fantastic. And then you want to do, let's say, last 5 years, right? This makes it a little bit more relevant to what we're trying to do, okay? So here's a book review about universal basic income. Number 2 here. Universal basic income, money for nothing, Mideast region, right? This is the Financial Times of London. Some of these are against universal basic income. So if you see something like the Wallstreet Journal online, that's probably going to be somebody who is advocating against the use of universal basic income. Here's an interesting article. I've seen this before. Stockton, California tests universal basic income already. That is actual evidence that could support your thesis that universal basic income could work, or it could be something that would go against it. All right, but universal basic income has become something that a lot of people are talking about, especially in the face of unprecedented unemployment, where the government is essentially supplying money for you to keep the economy afloat and make everybody, feel much more comfortable about being out of work. Another idea that we spoke about would be, and I think that this is less prevalent than it used to be, but video games and violence. Right? Do video games cause violence? Most people would argue that, in fact, it does not, but there are still some conservative politicians that argue that video games do cause violence. Sorry, that's my coffee. So it's up to you however you want to argue. I would say the evidence is probably in your favor if you argue that video games do not cause violence. And some of these, you'll see the Daily Beast. This is a legitimate website. It is a online journalism. Okay, they have a bunch of really, really good writers. So it's up to you really to kind of choose whichever one you want to choose to help prove your point here, right? But this is just an example of how to use a quick tutorial on how to use our library system. I will probably put up another video soon about using Google effectively and using an actual newspaper online effectively. So the one thing that you definitely need is your library card. If you don't have a library card or a library account, then you can email me. I don't think it would be a big deal if you use my account, but for the most part, I think that you should just be able to sign on. The librarians are available by email. They're incredibly helpful. Stephanie Cooper is really, really wonderful, and they can walk you through all of this. But I just wanted to give you a quick tutorial on how to find this, and then I'll have subsequent videos coming out basically showing you how to create a Microsoft Word document for a research paper. And I'd like to get as much out of these as possible, so just stay tuned for that. But I hope you all enjoyed this. Email me with any questions. I've been a lot better about responding to you, so hopefully in this next month, basically, we'll be able to kind of power through this and keep in constant contact. All right, thanks, guys.